We know as a country, we spend about $200 billion a year to run buildings. That's anything that's not a home or a manufacturing plant. Another $200 billion a year to run our industrial facilities, and about another 200 billion, coincidentally enough, to run our homes. What that means, and on average, we know that we waste about 20 to 30% of the energy that we use. So what that means is that there is tremendous opportunity for energy savings in the buildings, manufacturing plants, and homes in this country. There's a bunch of barriers that have stood in the way, but that's really where the Better Buildings Initiative, the Better Buildings Challenge, and partners like the state of Maryland come in. Through Better Buildings, the Department of Energy works with leaders in the public and private sector to make the nation's homes, buildings, and plants more energy efficient. They do so by setting an aggressive goal, by working hard to meet that goal, and then perhaps most importantly, sharing what they've done so others can learn from their example. And that's why I'm so excited to be here today, because we're actually able to participate in that sharing and learning and viewing and understanding of what it takes to drive greater efficiency, not only in a huge organization like the state of Maryland, but at individual facilities like the one we're going to see here today. We work as the Department of Energy with about 350 organizations in the Better Buildings Challenge. I call it really the leadership club that the Department of Energy gets to work with when it comes to driving greater efficiency and sharing what we're doing. To date, our partners are responsible for the bulk of the $11 billion that we have saved today as a country through the Better Buildings Challenge. And that's why the work you're seeing here today is so important, so groundbreaking, and so vital for what we need to do as a country moving forward. Maryland is a part of and has long been a part of the Better Buildings Challenge and the work we're doing to drive energy efficiency and share our learning. The state of Maryland has not only committed to reducing and early on committed to reducing their energy intensity by 20% by 2020, but they reached that goal 5 years early in 2015. And the work that Maryland has done to make energy efficiency advances throughout the state is really exemplary. And we're looking forward today to see an example of this work at the Western Maryland Railway Station. We are thrilled to have been working with the state of Maryland, and we're looking to continuing that work. David, I won't say anything more until you talk about it. But before we talk a little bit more, and before I let the Maryland team talk about the work that they've been doing, we'd like to play a short video for everyone to see that really describes the progress that the state of Maryland has made and the leadership role that they've been playing, not only for the states on the Eastern Seaboard, but really across the country. With that, let's watch the video. Exciting to begin to get a glimpse of that. So David, we are so excited that you're here today. I know David St. Jean introduced himself already, but David, we are thrilled to have you and the rest of your team at the state of Maryland. And so we'll turn it over to you now. Walk us through what you've done at the Western Maryland Railway Station.
All right, thank you again, Maria. Let me start by saying that in 2011, when DOE approached the state with the idea of creating an energy savings goal for Maryland state buildings, this is when we initially joined the Better Buildings Challenge, we had just successfully completed a legislated efficiency goal for state buildings of a 10% savings over 2005 baseline by 2010. So essentially we had just achieved a goal, and now we're being approached saying, hey, we need to do this again. We were, with a little bit of trepidation, signed on to this new goal, but we did see that there was still some low-hanging fruit available. And in fact, at some point, we must have decided that we really like to have these efficiency goals as motivators, because we did just sign on again with DOE for a new savings goal of 15% by 2029 based on a 2018 baseline. And this new goal mirrors a goal that was issued by Governor Hogan in 2019 through executive order, which actually was put into statute last year as well. So we're doubling down on ensuring that the goal is met. So I guess let's start with the next slide, please, and we'll start talking about some of the things that we've been doing through the Better Building Challenge. As I said, we joined in 2012. Our portfolio for the challenge was 69 buildings, totaling 9.8 million square feet. And as Maria mentioned, we were able to achieve the goal, 20% goal within 5 years, which was pretty remarkable. And we'll talk in the next slide exactly how we did this, which actually, yes, let's go ahead and move to the next slide, please. So we continue to save energy in that portfolio of buildings, so that now we're looking at about a 43% savings. And of the 69 buildings that were entered into the portfolio, into the challenge, some of the buildings actually ended up using a little more energy, some a lot less, so that on average, the portfolio-wide improvement was 25%. And the biggest contributor to the savings was our energy performance contracting program. In fact, two of the properties that are entered into the challenge were a correctional facility and a state hospital that total, I think, 3.5 million square feet. So that's about a third of all the buildings that we entered into the challenge. And those two properties, of one of them, the state hospital achieved savings of 55% through this energy performance contract, and the correctional facility was at 34%. So they were huge contributors to the overall savings. But even without that, there was an 18% savings overall in that portfolio. Let's try the next slide, please. I guess I'm going to turn it over to Dee Dee in a second. This is her slide. But I just wanted to say before then that we're actually finding in Maryland that thanks to federal codes and standards, our savings can accrue simply when old and inefficient is replaced with new, more efficient equipment. We actually, there doesn't seem to be much of an opportunity to use more energy. We just seem to be using less and less every year due to changes in federal standards and more efficient equipment, that every time we pull out an old piece of equipment, whether it's a T8 tube lighting or an old piece of HVAC equipment, we're replacing it with more efficient things. So having said that, Dee Dee, if you would like to launch into a description of the railway station, that'd be great.
Sure, thank you, David. Good morning again and welcome to Canal Place. Again, my name is Dee Dee Ritchie, and I'm the Executive Director of the Canal Place Preservation and Development Authority, which is a Maryland state government agency located in Cumberland, Maryland. The authority owns and operates Canal Place, which is an 11-acre tourist destination consisting of a variety of retail shops, a festival grounds, and the building we are showcasing today, the Western Maryland Railway Station. The railway station is a 25,000 square foot building that was constructed in 1913 and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The building functioned as a railway station until the late 1970s. The station was then used for office space and storage until the mid-1990s, when it was purchased by the state of Maryland, Canal Place. The building was then renovated by the state to house the Allegheny County Visitor Center, the C&O Canal Museum, offices and boarding area for the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad, restrooms, and offices for our Canal Place staff, and then other tenants. As executive director of Canal Place, one of my job functions is landlord. And when I started at Canal Place in 2012, the HVA system was already beginning to fail. We were spending money on repairs on a routine basis. Tenants were complaining that their offices were too cold in the winter and of course too hot in the summer. Drafty windows and lack of insulation in the building didn't help matters any. In addition to the HVAC issues, we were also having problems with an older lighting system in the station. Our maintenance staff was constantly replacing fluorescent bulbs and trying to repair faulty ballasts. And I also want to add that Canal Place also pays all the utilities for the tenants in the station. So those costs were increasing on an annual basis as well. Again, with all these costs and increasing utility bills, Canal Place had to find a long-term solution to these ongoing problems. So that's when we reached out to the Maryland Energy Administration and their energy performance contracting program. Thank you. I guess we'll turn it over to Chris.
No, that's for me now. Thank you, Dee Dee.
Sorry.
As Dee Dee said, she reached out to Maryland Energy Administration, and I was there at the time managing a loan program for state agencies and also overseeing a grant from DOE that offered audits to state agencies, which really gave us an opportunity to go in and look at this as not just an HVAC replacement project, which was headed towards emergency funding because of the wide range of problems that this HVAC system was encountering. So thank you to DOE for that. We were able to go in and look at not only HVAC system, but also lighting and building shell improvements as well. As Dee Dee mentioned, the HVAC system was barely working, required monthly, sometimes weekly maintenance. And due to the historic nature of the building, as you can see in this picture, all the outdoor compressor units were corralled into this tight little space, which was, I'm certain, affecting their efficiency as well. So as I said, when the audits came back, there was recommendations for building insulation and air sealing, lighting, and of course the new HVAC system. And because of the air sealing and the increased insulation in the attic, it meant that the already oversized HVAC system could be replaced with a smaller right-sized system. The next slide, please. So as you can see from this slide, the savings were significant on all counts. Lighting, of course, usually carries the day because cost per dollar, the savings are usually very high. So it was excellent that we were able to include all of these measures in this particular project. And we also were able to provide through MEA a no interest loan or low interest loan at the time to Canal Place. And here to talk about that is Chris Russell.
Okay, I think we can knock out this portion of the discussion here in about 3 minutes or so. Usually when you talk about doing energy improvement projects in an organization, most people react to that by thinking, okay, this is going to be a facilities or a maintenance effort. And, you know, to a large extent it is, but it's not 100% that. There really needs to be some support and buy-in from the rest of the corporate team as well. I say this because energy projects are really not an everyday experience for most organizations. This is certainly true for agencies of the state of Maryland. It's very easy for these efforts to get stalled if there's no buy-in or if there's incomplete understanding on the part of procurement and finance and operations directors. So really, there are two key ingredients for success when doing something like this. One of them, first, is to have a project champion on staff. This is a person who is going to regularly inform the decision makers there. You're going to coordinate their efforts and encourage them to follow through on what they're doing. The other key ingredient is visible and durable top management leadership. Now, those two ingredients are actually very important people here, and I just want to recognize them. Nicole Gray, who I think is not on the presentation this morning, was the person who accepted the role of project champion here, and I worked with her routinely over a period of months to make this happen. Deidre Ritchie, of course, the executive director, she gave it the top level leadership to make sure everybody was on the same page. Now, Mr. St. Jean already alluded to the fact that there is a low interest loan that was available. This is something that we're fortunate to have in the state of Maryland, in that there's a dedicated reserve of money, revolving loan fund, the Lawton Loan Fund, which details about which can be found on energy.maryland.gov. That certainly made it easy. So that's the takeaway here, unless there's questions.
Great, Chris. Thank you. So kudos to the state of Maryland team. We are excited. One thing I didn't mention in the beginning is why these showcase projects are important. And it's for all the reasons that Dee Dee and David and Chris just mentioned, right? It takes a whole bunch of things coming together and leadership to make it happen. And showcase projects like the one at Canal Place are exciting because they demonstrate there's all different kinds of buildings. The challenges you had with this being a historic facility demonstrate the possibility for energy efficiency really in any kind of building. So thank you for sharing this showcase project, because there are organizations and people around the country who are grappling with the same issues and don't know what to do. And you sharing what you've done here will hopefully help them and allow them to move much more quickly than they would have been. If they had to figure out everything you had to figure out, it would take them longer. And as a country, we don't have that time. And their opportunity to save money and energy is too important to not take advantage of and move quickly on. So thank you for sharing your showcase project with us today. We're very excited to be able to have you talk about it and for us to be able to communicate the work that you're doing and how it is you're getting it done. And Chris, your point about what it takes, or and Dee Dee, you're going through, and David, your description of the work it takes, technical, organizational, and personal, they all play a part. So thank you again for sharing with us this showcase project. And before we move to questions, let me suggest this. I think that Brian is still on the phone. And if he is, it sounds like he can't chime in on audio for this. So Dee Dee, maybe if it's okay, we'll ask Brian if he's got questions to send them to you, and then you can read them. So if that works for Brian at WCBC to ask questions, that would be great. And while he may be typing questions, I think the other things I want to do on behalf of the team at DOE who joins me today on the call is to welcome, congratulate, and indicate our excitement for you all setting your new goal. As a partner, not just a state partner, but as a partner in the Better Buildings Challenge, that really puts the state of Maryland in some rarefied air. We have partners who've set a second goal, but it's not universal. And so you're not only reaching your first goal 5 years early, but then your work and your interest, your desire and your leadership to continue saving energy. I think, David, you said this is your third goal. So I think that's pretty amazing. And so we want to welcome you. We are thrilled to be able to continue our work with the state of Maryland as part of the Better Buildings Challenge, and congratulate you all on setting this second or third goal, depending on how you count it. And we're excited to be working with you as we move ahead. So thank you for being such a great partner and being such a good example for everybody, not just other states, but other organizations across the country.
Thank you, Maria. And what I didn't mention was that this new goal includes all state-owned buildings. So we're talking 100 million plus square feet of buildings.
Oh my goodness. I like it. See, this is what makes a leader a leader. It's really being able to set aggressive goals. And that really is, as we have seen, the first step to making it happen. So we're looking forward to more calls like this, maybe even in-person events soon, to be able to continue to showcase, share, and talk about the work that you're doing, really with the hope that other people can benefit from what you've learned and what you've done. So thank you, State of Maryland. I appreciate it, and we all do. So I guess now is the time. We did say we would leave time for questions and answers, questions at the end. Let's see if we have any of those. Are there questions or things that we should talk about? Because again, we are recording this. We are hoping to play this as at the Better Building Summit in May, coming up in May of 2021, as the opportunity to, I mean, what's so important about energy efficiency, because it can often be hidden, if you will, right? You can't always see it when you walk through a building. And so really our desire and work to show and share is something that we're trying to continue even in a virtual way. And so we have done building tours as part of our summit. So you are the first of those that we'll be profiling as we convene people from around the country at the summit in May.
Say,
So,
Maria,
yeah.
While we're waiting for questions to come in, I'm going to suggest if we could take just a minute and ask Dave to elaborate on the energy database that DGS maintains for the state of Maryland. It's quite a piece of work.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
Oh, good. We didn't put you on the spot. That's great. Awesome.
No.
David, please.
I have been touting the database as the country's best statewide database for energy and utility bills. In my time at DOE, working in the state energy program and seeing what other states are doing, I'm continuing with that statement until someone proves otherwise. It has been, we've been improving it really since its inception. This past year, we've been able to include data on buildings in the database. It was originally set up really as an energy purchasing database to help us with our block and index in reverse auction energy purchasing. But really, since I've come on board, I've tried to push it in the direction of being more of an energy management tool, which means that you need to include information about buildings. When were they built? What's their square footage? What's their primary use? And once you start having that sort of data in the database, you can actually start using all that data to help manage the energy of your buildings. So thanks for that opportunity, Chris. I'm always happy to brag about the database.
One more quick note about that. It is online. There is a portal to get into it that is available to the public. You can look at, you can drill down and see individual buildings and see their, not just their energy consumption and price history, but also greenhouse gas emissions output. It's really, truly a powerful tool.
Awesome.
And as I said, improving daily. So we have plans for the future as well to continue. We're starting a big sub-metering project right now in the state capitol complex, which will then deliver to us energy information on each individual buildings within that complex. What we guessed at before we started doing all this work on the database last year, getting information about buildings, we had guessed that probably 80% of state buildings are not individually metered, which is not uncommon because there's a lot of central metered campuses, especially universities, state parks, correctional facilities, state hospitals. They all typically will have one or two or maybe just a few utility meters, but will have dozens or even hundreds of buildings. So we have undertaken this goal to sub-meter state buildings over the next several years and to move that data into the database as it becomes available.
That's amazing.
Because
so
as I like to say to everyone when they ask about sub-metering, it's like, well, when's the last time that you bought a car or even would consider buying a car that doesn't have a speedometer or a gas gauge? It's ridiculous.
Correct. And you know, one of the adages that we have at the Department of Energy that we've learned from our partners is what everybody says is you can't manage what you can't measure. So that is so logical and intuitive, but I'm continually surprised isn't a big enough word, stunned by how few people have the kind of effort you do to collect the information that you need to understand what you have and then manage it, right? So kudos again to the state of Maryland. So David, I'm gonna pay attention to whoever it is thinks that they can do better than you, and we'll hold tight to your thinking. You've got the best database around. So that's a true challenge to other states. So we'll have Alice and Nate, who are on the phone, continue to dig in and see if anybody can one up you. But as far as we know, the work you're doing is really unprecedented, and again falls in the leadership category. So I do know that we have a question in the chat, and I don't know who this is to. I'm guessing it's in part Dee Dee and part David, but the question is, can you talk more about how you incorporated historic building considerations into this project design and execution? If you could talk a little bit about that, because I know, as I said before, there are other organizations who are dealing with how do you make efficiency work in historic buildings, and lots of times people throw up their hands and say we just shouldn't touch them, and I'm not sure that's the right approach, and you guys have demonstrated why you don't need to do that. So I'll turn it over to Dee Dee or David. Tell us a little bit about the historic building considerations you had to incorporate.
I can talk about that. Yes, it is a historic building, and anything that we do to the building on the inside or the exterior, we have to get approval from the Maryland Historical Trust. So when we were going to do this project, we found out everything that we were going to improve on the building. We sent all that information down for project review to the Maryland Historical Trust. They send it to their board, and then they send us back any feedback, comments that they might have. And because we were just really replacing existing and some of the things you couldn't even see, they approved the project. So there were no issues with Maryland Historical Trust.
So Dee Dee,
You have the magic trust.
Yes.
in line with that, I had mentioned earlier about the HVAC unit being in that fenced-in area. Were they able to change the dimensions of that at all?
No, that all stayed the same.
And Dee Dee and David, we have one more question in the chat. Are there additional efficiency opportunities for this site that you may want to address down the road, or do you think you're sort of done at Canal Place?
Well, if we could get additional state funding, and we thought that it would improve our energy efficiency anymore, we had talked about doing like insulating our windows more with units called endos, where I guess you kind of just put, you kind of retrofit windows over the existing historic single pane windows that we have in our building. That was going to cost a little bit more money, and I think what they had told us in the long run, it wasn't going to save us that much more money, but that might be something that we would look into in the future with some other type of grant.
Can I add on to that? Just a quick comment. There are opportunities that rely on the new technologies that are coming out every day. And I'll just use one as an example. There's another state facility, it's at College Park actually, where the facility manager can control the lighting in there. We're talking about an auditorium, the Xfinity Center. He can control the lighting on a cell phone and do so remotely. If he lives in Baltimore, he can control the lighting for that facility 30 miles away. He can dim the lights, he can turn them off. Imagine that in Canal Place, where someone, because of weather, can't get in to do routine maintenance. You can remotely control that facility, its lighting, and perhaps the HVAC system as well. I'm not putting pressure on you, Deidre, to say that you have to invest in this, but it's just an example of what can be done.
Power of technology and the leadership to implement it. So, well, with that, I think we can wrap up today. Team from Maryland, if there's anything that you want to add, I will give you the last word. But again, on behalf of the U.S. Department of Energy and all of my colleagues, whether at DOE, ICF, or RETEC, or C+C, it's been a pleasure to have you on the phone today. and to be able to do this virtual tour of the Western Railway Station. We are thrilled to be able to see it. It'd be a little bit better if we could be there in person, but I appreciate your willingness to make it work in this virtual setting and to be the first partner to do that with us. Thank you again. Congratulations on your new goal, and congratulations on all the work that you all have done to date and really the leadership that you've provided in the market. So with that, David, I'll turn it back to you to close us out.
Oh, well, thank you, Maria. I did mention earlier about our submetering. I should also mention that that actually was from federal ARRA money from 2009 that we're using. We converted from a loan program into a grant for these submeters. So it's always wonderful to get a little federal money. It's great seed money. With that, just thank the DOE team and folks at Canal Place and Chris from MEA. Good job, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Congratulations.
Thank you.